Hey Australia, and welcome to Mind Over Money, the podcast that helps you have finances at work. And it all starts with our thinking. Today is a bonus episode, and we're talking to an electrician about the energy market and how to easily save on your power bill. Also, what's up with solar these days? Stick around. Well, energy prices have fallen from their peak in 2022, but a crunch on generation due to transitioning resources will keep prices at record high for some time. So, what can we do about it? Today, I've got Troy Rolly from Electrical Embassy to walk us through this. G'day, Troy.
G'day, Lockie.
Good to have you here today and discuss all things electricity. Troy, for our listeners, the energy market in Australia, it's complex to say the least. How does it actually operate, and how does that contribute to prices? Why are prices so high right now?
Yeah, sure. Well, it's very complex, Lockie. So the government's got involved because we've got a lot of players in the market. We've got generators, we've got wholesalers, and we've got retailers selling electricity to consumers.
Okay. What's the difference between those three?
So the generators, their sole purpose, their lane is to generate electricity and provide the network to export it out to all of the businesses and homes. We have the wholesalers that buy large chunks of energy and make it available to the subsidiaries, the retailers, which deal with the end user, the accounting, the connection to the homes, and all the little idiosyncrasies that sort of occur in that space.
So the wholesalers are the middlemen.
Exactly right. Yep.
Yeah, okay. Where do we get most of our electricity from right now? Because we're in this transition period, and that's partly due to why prices are so high.
So we are. We're at a transition at crossroads with technology and how we generate electricity. And we are transitioning from a fossil fuel world where we have aging power stations and coal and gas, and we're transitioning to more renewable power generation in solar, PV systems, and wind generation.
Okay. You worked for a big gas company in the past before running your business, did you?
Yeah, I spent some time in the gas sector when the gas boom occurred in 2012 to 2018, building a lot of infrastructure to get gas out of the sites in Western Queensland and up to Gladstone for export and also for domestic use.
Wow. And we're still using those gas pipelines today?
Yeah, 100%. We're pushing gas around for the domestic market and also to the export market through Gladstone in Queensland and many other places around Australia.
How much power do we actually export overseas?
That's actually been quite a hot topic recently because the incentive to export gas and get a higher return on the gas has overridden a lot of the domestic supply in the market, which has contributed to our spike in energy prices for gas electricity production because supply and demand dictates if there's not a lot of gas in the system and a lot of it's being sold overseas, it fetches a higher price for the Australian producers.
Yeah, right. So the government has been trying to put some limits in place. Do you know anything about the details of that?
Yeah, so in most states in Australia, the government put a base limit on the factors to produce electricity, but also what the retailers can charge. So we have a floor, I suppose you'd say, on your electricity accounts in terms of how many cents per kilowatt you're getting charged, and then they offer, obviously through a competitive marketplace, you can negotiate alternative plans for the consumer.
There's a lot happening at the macro, I guess, we can't control. We know that we're in a big transition. We know that prices are high. But when we bring this down to, I guess, our own household usage, what can we do? So I guess my question is, what are the biggest chewers of power in a typical home? And how can we reduce our electricity usage to keep prices within our budget?
Yeah, so it's remained fairly constant through most of our usage in the domestic market. Heating and cooling is really the big power users. So that's heating or cooling your home or heating or cooling a environment. So whether it be pool, whether it be a fridge, or whether it be air conditioning for bedrooms or living rooms, and heating your hot water.
Have you found, is it gas or electricity systems tend to use more power when it comes to heating and cooling?
Yeah, we're finding there's a big transition for electricity.
Mm.
People are finding that having gas services is becoming increasingly expensive and they don't feel they're getting a good return on their outlay. So we're finding a lot of people, especially in the cooking space, but also in pool heating, are transitioning to electrical systems. And I think a lot of it has to do with the electrical systems are also becoming more and more efficient. So it's costing less to perform the same task. So we talk about room cooling and heating with air conditioners. There seems to be a continual improvement with air conditioners in terms of efficiency. So they're getting the same job done, but consuming less energy to do it.
Yeah, okay. I've always wondered when it comes to air conditioning, what are the most efficient kind of air conditioning units that you can put in a home?
Yeah, so there are a lot of government sites and independent sites that confirm that air conditioning, whether it be split systems or ducted systems in a home, are by far the most efficient way to heat and cool. That can be complemented by things like ceiling fans if you're looking to cool a home, because there are some occasions where it'll be complementary with the air conditioning, or you can use ceiling fans instead of air conditioning on those more mild days rather than running air conditioning. But holistically, the cheapest way to heat or cool your home is definitely through a refrigerated solution like air conditioning.
Yeah, I always get mixed up with the split system and all the terminology around air cons. It's become pretty complex.
It has, but one good thing is all of them are sharing technological advances, so they're all becoming quite efficient, whether you end up with a ducted system in your home or workplace, or whether you end up with the split systems, which are usually characterized by the rectangular box internally in a house and a box outside with interlinking pipes is typical for a split system. Yeah.
Okay. So basically go talk to an electrician.
Talk to an electrician or
yeah.
a refrigeration specialist, yes.
Yeah, cool. Okay, what about lighting? When it comes to lighting, what can we do there?
Yeah, that's one area that's had a lot of advancements recently, and LED is definitely the future. It's here now, and a lot of people are replacing their old technology with modern LED lighting and getting the benefits of doing that.
I guess with LEDs, you've also got smart lights too, right? So you can actually program LEDs pretty easily and have them turn on when you rock up at the driveway, etc., or turn off when you're not in a room.
Yeah, that's right. With the evolution of the technology for LED lighting, it seems to be also the revolution for home automation's gone hand in hand with that. And you're right, there's just so much you can do, whether it be geofencing when you drive home, and the app can detect that you're close to home and it turns on perimeter lights, or sensors around the home, or lux sensors. There's just so many avenues to automate your home and have a better user experience, but also have an increase in energy efficiency as well.
It's cool. Like I love that home automation side of things. It has always been something that it seemed quite expensive, maybe for just luxury homes, but it's becoming really affordable now. And it's actually, it can help you save electricity because you can turn lights off when you're not in a room, or even using different devices to monitor how much electricity you're using in the home. Are there devices like that you recommend, or that people can easily set up to monitor how much power they're using?
Yeah, so with the energy space, obviously information is power. So the more that you know about how you're using your energy for your particular lifestyle, the more in control you can be with how you can save energy, or at least keep it under control, or best case scenario, stop bill shock. And with automation, it's the cliche, but as it evolves, the quality of the automation gets better and the cost of the automation goes down. And that's definitely what's happening in this space.
Yeah, because at a retail level, even I've seen some devices now. I think maybe walking into a JB Hi-Fi or something where you can just plug these devices into certain power points and actually, watch the electricity usage on your app and even get alerts for certain usage peaks throughout the day.
That's exactly right. And we do recommend some forms of that technology for people who want to become a little bit more savvy about their energy usage, and maybe have some appliances that are not their primary appliances, but more of a secondary role, that they can firstly be educated on what sort of costs per day it is to run them. And also they have the ability to control it remotely through an app. or even through voice, through Google. There's a lot of that technology around now, so they can definitely be more mindful about what they're spending.
Yeah. We were also talking before about even if you live in a shared complex, even the lighting in that shared complex, so the body corporate lighting, such as the driveway lights. In our complex, we've got some driveway lights and they're using old technology. So I know they're costing a fortune to run for the 8 hours every night they run. So I guess there could be some things there too that maybe it's a time for a discussion with your body corporate about updating some of the exterior lighting.
Yeah, that's 100% correct. And body corps are a really interesting area because not only are some of the drivers about energy efficiency and this keeping the spend down on its usage, but also with LED technology, typically the life of the product is much longer. So your maintenance costs are also reduced and outages are also reduced. So periods of time where the community lighting may not be operational, which obviously increases the likelihood of maybe some trips or falls of a nighttime or criminal activity of a nighttime. So there's lots of added benefits with the new technology as well that aren't obvious.
You talked about simple ways we could save money before. You talked about that whole bill shock and thinking about the things that we can do to trim electricity. We were looking at energy.gov.au before. We'll put all these links in the show notes, by the way. We'll just put a list of links because there's lots of different great resources out there online. There are some simple things that a family of 4 could do in a household to save $750 a year. So do you want to run through those 4 things?
Yeah, there's some great government sites to help steer you around energy efficiency, but some of the big pointers are a lot of households are running a second fridge, for example. So they really need to think about whether they need to run that second fridge all year because they could save in the order of $172 a year just by electing not to run that second fridge or maybe just using it for peak periods where they've got family over and they're storing more foods and things like that. Standby power on appliances like game consoles and things like that can also be reduced by unplugging them. There's also another benefit of unplugging them, so you're not having all of your sensitive electronic equipment susceptible to voltage spikes, lightning strikes, damaging them. So there's two benefits in that area. The clothes dryer is a really big one. It is a big power user, and a lot of people don't realise, and they do suffer from bill shock when they do use their dryer a bit. So there's a couple of ways you can approach that, and that is obviously being a bit more selective with how often you use your more traditional clothes dryer and use the clothesline. But we find with some people with unit living and their lifestyle means that they just are obligated to use their clothes dryer, then we recommend they consider investing into a more sophisticated clothes dryer like a refrigerated type or a condenser type that actually uses less energy to get the job done than a more entry-level clothes dryer that's quite a big power user. They're quite inexpensive to buy, but they are a large power user, so that's another appliance that should be scrutinised. And also from a plumbing point of view, energy and energy efficiency, if you had water efficient shower heads, for example, that would mean less draw on your hot water system. So there would be less heating required for your hot water system. And that's another way of saving money.
Yeah, just those 4 simple items can save you $750 a year for a family of 4. So that's some pretty cool tips. Again, you can find this at energy.gov.au.
There is no silver bullet with this. It's all 1%ers. So it's about being educated and collectively just making these small lifestyle changes, and then they collectively add up to a big budget saving.
Before we move on, if you're renting, so you don't own the home, so there's only so many things you can do with appliances and, picking the right fridge and washer dryer. But when it comes to changing power points, changing lights, what's your tips for renters there?
Yeah, obviously some open dialogue with the landlord to incentivise them to help you with automation or energy efficiency opportunities in that rented home is always a great first step. And it's to their advantage as well, the landlord, in terms of keeping their home attractive in the rental market, in terms of having new technology and these type of savings around, because people are going to expect it in the future.
So maybe talk to an electrician, get a quote, and present that to the landlord as a win-win.
Definitely. I can see that being a big part of the market in the future.
After the break, we'll talk about solar and the new technology that will help you manage your electricity in the future. Okay, what about solar? It's like, this is huge, hey? Everyone's been talking about this for years. I mean, solar's great, especially in Queensland. We've got plenty of sun. But there are so many schemes around it because it's a job creation tool for the government. So they've been incentivizing people to get out there and put solar systems in, which is great in some ways. But people have been getting into a lot of debt over solar systems as well. So where do you see that going in the future?
Oh, look, there's no doubt that renewable energy and solar is a big part of it, especially where we are in Queensland, is the future. And it is typical with most new technologies that the quality increases over time and the cost decreases. So it's a win-win situation. Early adopters were incentivised with very generous state feed-in tariffs, for example, where they could feed in excess power and be rewarded for that and offset the costs of their solar system. And that was a really good first start. I think with this evolution of the technology, our electrical grid in Australia was really designed for one-way electrical flow, and that was from the producers in the power stations through to the end users. And what's happened in a fairly short space of time is we have houses that have basically their own little power plant on the house, pushing it back out to the grid, and that's caused quite a disturbance in the grid where the generators and distributors, they need to control the power, and it was very hard to control when you have all these little micro power stations injecting power into the grid. So they're playing a little bit of catch up. And they're putting in different control mechanisms that evolves over time so they can try and have a stable grid with safe voltages for everyone to contribute to. It's an evolution and it's certainly not finished yet. But you're right, there is now a push that it's been so popular with solar systems that they're having to restrict or control people putting surplus power into the grid. The evolution of renewable energy really is at a point now where self-consumption is king. It's not so much about generating money or offsetting the cost of your PV system by injecting power back into the grid. It's about consuming what you produce.
That's a great way to look at it, because that will stop you falling into some of these sales tactics where you see these ads online now. It used to be the guy knocking on the front door, but mostly it's digital ads now about how you can slash your power bill and make money as well. But I guess it's less about that now with these. Obviously, used to get 40 cents per kilowatt. Now it's down to almost nothing, and it will be by 2030 once the incentives run out. I guess now the focus is on consuming electricity that you produce. And moving forward, it seems like smart batteries will be key to that. Can you explain that?
Yeah, exactly right. So self-consumption being the reason we get these renewable energy systems on means that we produce electricity during daylight hours with our PV systems. But when most families get home and they're cooking and they're using their air conditioner systems, and lighting is obviously before the sun's up and producing electricity and well after it's set. So batteries are another complementary part of the system. They're fairly early in their technology, very similar to what solar was 20 years ago. So we are seeing a transition where the quality of the batteries will go up and the costs of the batteries will go down sufficiently, where it'll become a holistic system for the consumer. So they'll produce their energy during the day, they'll store energy with their batteries, and they'll use that stored energy of a nighttime to run the household and charge cars and all the other bits and pieces they need to do.
Will a lot of these old solar systems, will there be a cost to sort of adapt with this new technology, you think? Or if someone's putting in a solar system today, should they be looking at a system that can or will be able to easily adapt with putting in a smart battery and a smart automation system like you talked about to balance out the power and moving forward?
The systems being installed now are all battery ready, and the older systems are as well. But keep in mind, the older systems were very small in size. They're typically much larger now, and a smaller system probably doesn't produce enough power to really cost effectively charge a battery. And the aging products in those older systems, we're talking some, up to 25 years old now in Queensland, they would be reaching the end of their serviceable life anyway. So they'll be updated with a new system.
Okay. So I guess in summary, a lot's changing, and we should take our time to really look at the options and what could be best suited for us, and also our budget as well.
And like home automation we discussed before, these solar systems, you don't need to race out and get one now, knowing that the quality of the product are always increasing and the cost is going down. So waiting on the sidelines until, for example, batteries became more cost effective and there's more critical mass there isn't a bad thing.
Yeah, I guess the same could apply to electric cars, right? Obviously, we got a lot of people driving Teslas around, but the future looks like probably Hyundais and Toyotas and, all those mass market cars.
Exactly right. And, the consumer's seen that in real time where we've had lots of early adopters with cars, but some of the more mainstay manufacturers now are rolling out technology that has more features and things like discharging your car to supply energy to your house is now becoming something that the new manufacturers are considering, and quicker charge rates as well, and newer technologies in the battery space and charging technology also. So it's like most things we've discussed, the quality increases and the cost decreases over time.
Sounds cool. When I look at the future, you plug your car in at night, and you can be charging your car, or the electricity from the car can move back through the battery into the home. And you were talking also before about smart systems now actually forecasting electrical usage based on the weather as well.
Yeah, I think this is probably the most important space as energy becomes more expensive and we become more self-sufficient with our own systems at each household. And that's the consumer's going to have to educate themselves and buy into what's occurring in their space, so their production and their consumption. So there's a lot of energy analytic components that are being sold with solar systems, so the consumer can in real time and also have alerts about what they're producing, what they're consuming, the status of their power. There'll be a lot of technology increasing in that space, and there's algorithms that we already have with good systems that are luckily Australian made, where they do look at forecast weather, and they obviously direct power and store power at different rates because of overcast days that might be coming up, or if your energy consumption pattern dictates that Saturdays and Sundays you use energy at a particular time at a particular rate, it'll have the sophistication to deal with that.
That's really cool. It seems like technology is playing a huge part in this. Okay, so wow, let's summarize. So we talked at the start about why power prices are so high, and although they will go down in the future, hopefully, that's the hope with this transition to new technology, don't expect your power bill to be coming down too much lately, because we do have some generation crunches as we move through these changes. But what we can control is taking a review of our household energy usage, maybe getting a monitoring device to see where power is being used, maybe talking to our landlord about updating the lights, or if we are the homeowner, there are things we can do, such as changing to LED bulbs, maybe cutting out the second fridge, looking at buying energy efficient devices, turning off the game consoles and the power devices, the TVs, we're not using it. The amount of times I see a TV just sitting there running all day in someone's home. So that's one we can turn off. If you live in Brisbane, you could definitely just use the outdoor clothesline as the sun, the good old fashioned sun, instead of the heated dryer. That'll save you some money there. And that's a good point about the 4-star shower head as well. So less water means less water heated, which means more money saved on your power bill and your water bill. And when it comes to solar, we've talked a bit about that, but it is complex and the technology is always changing. So sometimes sitting on the fence and waiting for that mass adoption of new technology can actually save you quite a bit and get a better outcome from it. So don't be too quick to rush into solar. Do some research first and talk to a local electrician. I guess that is the key to implementing anything. We've got to work with specialists to make sure we're making good decisions and making good purchases. So, hey, Troy, where can people find out about your business?
Yeah, Lockie. So, Electrical Embassy, we're based in Brisbane, and we're online like most businesses, and we're always trying to push information out there for the consumer in blogs and resources to help them make informed decisions. And I think that's the metric there. Reach out to your local electrician, check the quality of the information they provide for you in this space, and just make an informed decision on who you'd like to get advice from to help you save energy and take pressure off your budgets.
That's great. We'll put a link in the show notes to everything we've talked about today and to Electrical Embassy. Thanks, Troy, for having this discussion with us, and we'll get you on again soon.
Thanks for the invite, Lockie.
All right, just a reminder that today's discussion was for education purposes only. We steer clear of personal advice or product recommendations on the show. So if you'd like help with your finances, click the link in the show note. Have a great week.